We find that there's the highest demand for our products when there's confidence, when business owners are confident in the macroeconomic environment that they find themselves in and they want to invest. And so, from a business owner's perspective, I think it's important to think about how you're investing that capital and ensuring that it's going to bring that return.
I know that, you're immersed in the small business lending scene. You work with a lot of small business owners. So I think this is a great opportunity to ask you some tips you may have for, business owners who are watching in. So let's perhaps start with reasons why one would take out a loan or any type of financing. Oftentimes, I think a lot of business owners may consider this, but then put it on the back burner because they don't really know about the options out there. So if you could just lay out the various reasons one might need financing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see a whole host of different reasons why small businesses use our products. They tend to be for growth oriented purposes as opposed to, temporary band-aids due to some cash flow gap that occurs. Although sometimes that does happen in business and, a payment comes up that you weren't expecting or some equipment breaks down and you need to quickly finance a replacement. So we will help out in those situations as well. But, speaking in terms of what we see our customers doing, they're generally investing in their business. And so we find that there's the highest demand for our products when there's confidence, when business owners are confident in the macroeconomic environment that they find themselves in and they want to invest. And so from a business owner's perspective, I think it's important to think about how you're investing that capital and ensuring that it's going to bring that return. I think that small businesses do find themselves in a position often where there's a really high return opportunity on, some inventory they can buy or some expansion they can do. And they're sometimes pretty low risk opportunities. They know they can flip that product, but they just need quick, convenient capital to do so. And that's the best type of scenario that makes the most sense for our credit products. But there's a host of reasons why a business might need cash, and it's usually has to do with growth.
Okay. So let's say that this business owner knows that he needs capital and is now on the hunt for financing. What are your sort of top tips for this person to look out for, be mindful of while they're sort of scanning the market, and what should they keep in mind, even in terms of getting qualified? So that's a second part question, but let's start with what are sort of the top tips that you have for someone who's scanning the market for capital opportunities?
I would say to spend a little bit of time understanding the options that are out there. I think, just taking the first option, or let's say you get solicited through a piece of marketing and it piques your interest, it's worth doing some research because every company is a little bit different. And it's hard to tell if financing is not, your expertise, which in many cases won't be. Business owners are an expert in whatever their business provides. It's not necessarily financing. And so I recognize that it's difficult, but I would read some reviews, make sure it's a company that is reputable and is transparent in the way that it operates, that it, doesn't have hidden fees in the contracts or any kind of surprises like that. I would say, at least do a quick scan of the funding agreement before you hit the signature box. And we really pride ourselves on having very simple legal agreements and easy to understand financing options with no hidden fees. But not all companies have that approach. And so it's important to do your research.
And in terms of getting qualified, what should business owners, startups keep in mind when they're looking to get qualified?
I think that it is important to manage your cash the best you can. A lot of the fintech companies out there are using algorithms that look at your bank transaction data as at least one of the main inputs in making their credit decision. And so check into your bank account daily and make sure you're managing your cash well, because that will ultimately score you in a better credit category with the fintechs you're applying for. I would also say that a small business that does really well by its customers, that will show up in things like online reviews, and a lot of algorithms these days will look at those as well. So, manage your online reputation as well. It will help. and be forthright with any answers to questions that, to the extent that an underwriter or someone on the risk team from any of these companies has questions, be very fulsome in your answers. I think that also helps.
And in terms of things to avoid, you touched on this a little bit, David, but when one is taking out a loan or any type of financing, what should one be wary of or avoid?
I think a few things. I said earlier, you want to have a clear idea of what you're using the funds for, and you don't want to be maximizing the amount of credit you're taking out just because it happens to be available. It's important that it's invested in opportunities that yield returns. So that's sort of a very basic, probably overly basic sort of statement, but nonetheless important. I would say that make sure that you do a forward-looking forecast, cash flow forecast, and understand your anticipated revenues and expenses and your ability to make payments on any kind of financing that you take out, whether business or personal for that matter. And so that's also important. But most importantly, invest it in a way that yields a return and puts your business ahead.